There was this beautiful girl named Hoshi Sayaka and a seemingly gloomy man named Negashu. Whoa! Is that his actual name? Alright, for safety purposes, we will not be calling him that, but will be called Shoya instead. Now, Sayaka. She's a very bright and popular student in her class, and she also has a pair of huge eyes. As for Shoya, people find it difficult to interact with him because he is a gloomy person. As such, would think of him as some lowly being. But deep inside Shoya, there lies a loud shriek of affection towards the pretty girl in class. At the school's rooftop, his friend advises him to confess to Sayaka. But this guy couldn't bring himself to do it due to having no confidence in himself. Respect to my homeboy Shoya out here. Shoya freaked out all of a sudden as he insisted that he looked terribly gross, but his friend says otherwise. He began to recall the scenario wherein Sayaka picked up his eraser and insulted him, calling him gross, but his friend told him that he was just hallucinating. Well, after the eraser incident, Sayaka couldn't help but imagine how much she loved every bit of that moment, talking to Shoya. She then hollered at her friend, Maki, and told her that she had a conversation with Shoya. Sayaka told her that Shoya merely thanked her for returning the eraser he dropped. That was it. Her friend was expecting more of it, but Sayaka was anxious and hoping that something great would come out of it. Sayaka sighs, then wonders if she and Shoya could do it. She told Maki about the possibility of them getting married, but was told she's just cray-cray. Sayaka was sparking with positivity, knowing that she'll get married just after being thanked for returning the eraser. When Sayaka left, Maki was left with worries, hoping everything will be all right. The next day at the train station, Sayaka was met with a surprise when she saw Shoya inside the train as well. As both stood by each other, the both of them had a wonderful experience. What a happy coincidence. Back at school, Sayaka felt overjoyed to know that she got to be on duty together with Shoya. But it was a bit too heavy to think that they're dating. But her friend Maki reassured her that this could be a chance for them to get close. An example would be a scenario between a man and a woman who were fated to do cleaning duty together. As they clean the blackboard, their hands slowly drift towards each other, touching hands in the process. That is so perverted and Excuse my rude behavior. I lost control of myself right there. Sayaka caught on and thought of a heartwarming scenario. As both Sayaka and Shoya walked down the hallway after doing their duties, an imaginary Shoya made from her delusion gave her a present as a reward for her since she's working so hard. It was a yogurt farm? A limited edition drink that can't be found anymore. Holy moly! After Shoya gave it to Sayaka, he pulls off a pretty boy face. Okay, so we're doing rip-offs of Jungle Juice now? She gets really excited, thinking these types of scenarios happen to a lot of people. But Maki reassures her that it does not. She kept going on, and this time, Sayaka imagines a scene inside a shoujo manga with the gang, including her, Shoya, and obviously her friend Maki, who looked really beautiful. Maki got really mad about it, knowing that Sayaka saw her that way. The two eventually separated, as Sayaka heads out to do her duties. Unfortunately, the next day, when the teacher had a roll call on the students, only Shoya was absent, and Sayaka lost her smile that day, knowing he wasn't there. Back at Shoya's house, he's seen covered in sheets and thought he was a genius for skipping class by pretending to be sick. He wanted to go so bad to see Sayaka, but he was so negative he thought that she'll hate him if ever they're alone together. I swear to God, even I'm not this negative. Today, it's now cooking class. Let's go, baby! Sayaka was excited as she told her group to leave the rest to her, so Maki was impressed. But Sayaka told them that she couldn't, but she was confident. Anyway, if she was my group mate, she's immediately kicked out. Sayaka reassures her group that their dish is easy, since they just have to mix it up with salt and put over a fire till it's sweet, but they were making cookies. As their group continued to struggle with Sayaka, Shoya, on the other hand, was so out of touch that he could only think about everything falling apart. His group mates tried to calm him down, but Shoya thinks that he'll just destroy everything he touches, To the other group, all that's left for them is to put the cookie into the oven. Sayaka volunteered to do the last task and was told not to let it burn. She was confident in herself, but can we really take that for granted? And several minutes later, the group was left with an ash on the plate. Sayaka tried to lighten up the group, but you know what was also lightened up? Those f***ing cookies? Gordon Ramsay would make a mess out of her. The two girls were left disappointed in her for burning the cookie down after the work they put into it. She started panicking, but eventually the group had decided to throw it all away. Fortunately for them, Shoya came in clutch and told their group not to throw away the whole thing yet. He told them that they can remake the whole thing by mixing it up and turning it into a crunchy chocolate. Maki was surprised to hear this from him, but she was told that he had just imagined all the possible things that could go wrong today, since he didn't sleep for 3 days straight. Shoya told Sayaka not to mind it too much, so her group mates got to work again and started making another batch of cookies. As Shoya watches the group work on the sidelines, he knew that he had to help Sayaka out since he saw her struggling. But he started shaking intensely all of a sudden, thinking that Sayaka would hate him more after intervening with their group. After a while, the cookies turned out to look great. But what about the taste? Sayaka's group mates were delighted with her efforts and enjoyed the food. Not bad. She goes to Shoya and gives him a piece of their cookie. After munching down the cookie, Shoya told her that it tasted really good. It left Sayaka in shock as she saw him walk away. In her eyes, he saw a very handsome man repeating the words, "really good," in a soft voice, making her hallucinate even more. Now this is a different breed of delulu. But in reality, Shoya was just thinking he should have been more perceptive, while Sayaka kept dreaming of her gentleman. What the f***? Both Sayaka and Maki were walking through the hallway, taking a look at the rain. So Sayaka, being the overly optimistic person that she is, knew it was a chance for her to share a love umbrella with Shoya. Sayaka was giddy, imagining how it would play out if both her and Shoya stay under an umbrella, but was immediately disheartened after realizing that she forgot to bring an umbrella. So she plans to stop by at the library as a means to wait for the rain, but Maki sniffed through her bullshit and knew she'd just sleep through it, so Sayaka reassured her that she will not sleep. After a few minutes in the library, she fell asleep, while snoring loudly even, which bothered the students who were trying to study. As the rain had no intention of stopping, Shoya was in the hallway with his friend, knowing that something could go wrong. His imagination went so wild he started to worry about getting bullied as a pervert, so he'll have to drop out just for seeing through a girl's wet clothes. It gets progressively worse as he realizes that if he drops out, the outcome was for him to die. But his friend knew he was tripping, so Shoya decided to stay in the library for the meantime as a way to avoid the worst of the worst. Inside the library, Shoya sat down on an empty seat and noticed that he just sat beside a sleeping Sayaka. He was mesmerized at her cute sleeping face, but decided to stop after realizing that he'll become a sex offender and get executed England style. But obviously he's just snorting some to get that kind of imagination. Sayaka yawned and woke up, noticing that Shoya was right beside him. She explained that she forgot her umbrella, so she stayed for the meantime, so Shoya offered her his umbrella since he'll just stay to wait for the rain. On the spur of the moment, he immediately gets anxious, realizing whether he's coming on strong or being a creep in general. But Sayaka feels guilty for taking his umbrella on her own, so she decides to borrow half of the umbrella. Also, guys, see that gigantic badoing-doing hanging outside the panel? Now that's real and not edited. Fast forward, the both of them stay under one umbrella, and Shoya, despite being the most pessimistic person in the world, realizes that the rain might be a good thing after all. That's all for part 1 of the manga recap. Hope you've enjoyed this romp.